Councilor Brown, how you doing? It's okay, you're right on time here, actually. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Taber Town Council meeting for May 25th, 2021. We first off have a subdivision authority meeting to deal with, so I will call that subdivision authority meeting to order and ask for an adoption of the agenda as presented, please. Councilor Beckering? Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. On to the adoption of the minutes of the regular meeting of Subdivision Authority, April 26, 2021. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, His Worship, before you is the minutes for April 26 for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make that motion? Councilor Stravas.
All right. Yes, I'll make the motion that Subdivision Authority adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of the Subdivision Authority held on April 26, 2021 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. On to item number 4, subdivision application, item 4.1, subdivision TT 21-0-002, the Meadows Phase 1. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, I would call upon Ms. Katie Slam to address this in council. Proceed, Katie.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon, Katie.
Good afternoon. Before you is subdivision 21-0-002 for the Meadows of Tabor. As you are aware, for the past year, the town and Douglas J. Bergen and Associates has been working together to develop 60 acres of town-owned land into a manufactured housing community. The Municipal Planning Commission and Council have previously approved the Meadows of Tabor concept plan, which includes the overall concept for the community, as well as transportation networks and proposed servicing plans. We are now at the subdivision stage. Administration received a complete subdivision application on April 12th and circulated it both internally and externally, as well as to any neighboring properties within 100 meters of the subdivision. A landowner of the neighboring property did call and visit the planning counter to express his concerns over servicing through his property, and those thoughts were captured in a little letter in your package of comments. The town and Douglas J. Bergen and Associates is working with the landowner to hopefully come to a suitable solution. Otherwise, servicing could take another route if that was the last resort. Details of the servicing will be finalized in the servicing agreement. Approving the subdivision will allow us to create phase 1 of the subdivision. However, the servicing details can continue to be refined after approval of the subdivision. Tabor Irrigation District also provided comments on the subdivision, and administration is working with them to ensure all parties are satisfied. The subdivision was recommended for approval by the Municipal Planning Commission at their May 17th meeting. If there's any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? All right, none whatsoever. Someone prepared to make a motion. Councilor Garner.
Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion that the Subdivision Authority approves subdivision TT 21-0-002 within the east halves of Section 7, Township 10, Range 16, west of the 4th Meridian, civically described as 7000 50th Street, with the following 11 conditions.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. And on to item 4.2, subdivision TT 21-0-003, 5211 and 5215 43rd Avenue. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, I would just allow Katie to proceed with the second subdivision, please.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. So for this application, VHL has applied to consolidate a total of 5 lots and then further subdivide into 4 separate lots so they can build 2 semi-detached dwellings. This will allow each unit to possibly be sold separately if they so wish. The subdivision was received on April 15th and circulated to all internal and external stakeholders, as well as neighboring properties within 100 meters of the subdivision, and all of the comments are attached in your package. Tabor Irrigation District did note that there is a concern over stormwater runoff, and so one condition of the subdivision is that post-development flows should not exceed pre-development flows as determined through a stormwater analysis. Otherwise, there were no glaring objections to the subdivision. ATCO does require separate services to each lot, as does the town, which is fairly standard for a subdivision of this type. And the subdivision was approved by the Municipal Planning Commission on May 17th as well. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right, thank you. Once again, any questions arising? All right, seeing none, someone appear to make a motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the Subdivision Authority approve subdivision TT 21-0-003, lots 20 to 24 inclusive, block 30, plan 2325S, civically described as 5211 and 5215 43rd Avenue with the following 11 conditions.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried now. Great, thank you. And just ask for a motion to close the meeting. Councillor Garner.
I can make that motion and close this part of the meeting.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried now. Thank you. And I will call our regular scheduled Tabor Town Council meeting for May the 25th, 2021 to order and ask for an adoption of the agenda. Councillor Stravis.
Yes, your worship, make a change to the agenda so that we can go into closed session rather than holding it off till later, just to facilitate the amount of time that we spend here. So I'd like to make the motion that council adopts the agenda as amended to allow for the opportunity to undertake closed session items prior to the timing of delegations at 5 p.m.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table as amended. All in favor? Carried now. Thank you. And item number 3, adoption of the minutes. Item 3.1, minutes of regular meeting of council, May the 10th, 2021. Mr. Orwa?
Yes, His Worship, again, before you are the minutes for May 10th, 2021 for your consideration, please.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make that motion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on May 10th, 2021 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Business arising from the minutes, there are none. Bylaws, number 5, item 5.1, proposed 2021 property tax rate bylaw 16-2021. Mr. Irwa.
Thank you very much, His Worship and members of council. So before you is the property tax rates as discussed during our previous meetings. So today before you we have the bylaw itself. But there are just a few things that I would like to highlight. As I mentioned earlier, you know, we do have the school rates. Of course, those ones we can't control. Then we also have the senior tax rates, as already been seen before. But just one area that I would like to emphasize on is this bylaw incorporates the MD rates necessary to levy taxes for the annexed land as directed by the orders of council. And the only thing I want to highlight there is the order of council. Already there's some items as listed that the town of Tabor has to pay to MD. That is what we collect based on the order of council from MD, we have to pay them back. Now, we did request, if at all, maybe anything could change, but it didn't change. So moving forward from the direction we are getting from MD Council is that they're going to look at the what was there in the order of council, and based on that, based on their rates and assessments, they will give us the difference. So in this case, like this particular year, the order of council was about 83,000. But based on the rates and assessment, we are only going to collect 77,000. So that difference is what they are going to give us back. And that is, of course, is not following the same methodology as I'd already discussed with council. Because if you look at that particular schedule, now the payments in that schedule is being reduced by 10% each year. Last year we paid about 92,000. Now in 2020, we are now going to pay, sorry, in 2021, we're going to pay 90% of the original payment. So each year it's reducing by 10%, by 10%, by 10%. So I thought probably in our payment methodology, we were also going to reduce the same payment by 10%. But I think that was not taken that way. I think council from MD simply instructed us that they're only going to pay the difference between what was in the order of council less what we collect. So this year, as I said, we collected 77,000. We're supposed to pay them 83,000. So the difference is what they'll give us back. So we have to factor that one in our mill rates, which didn't change much. It's just 0.00 something. So we are still at the 2% range, and also around the 2% range for non-residential. The other thing that I would like to mention, just right there, on some yellow marks, I put highlights on our bylaw. So June 30th still remains our due date, but we will not apply penalties as usual, because if June 30th is our due date, we should have applied penalties the following month by about July 1. But we're not going to do that because of the direction that we got from council last time. So we are going to defer the payments, so not the payments, but penalties to October. And that will follow for 6%, and then another 6%, then cumulative of 12% when we hit January of 2022. So those are some of the major highlights that are there. And then we have the actual bylaw there for your consideration. So if there's any response, especially on the MD side or any contribution to the bylaw, I'll open it for council.
All right, thank you. Councillor Stravas.
Yes, Your Worship, of course, yourself and Councillor Beckering, the three of us, we discussed this in the audit committee, and the change was a little discerning that they're not following, the MD is not following the same methodology as in previous years. It made a last minute change to our books, the way we had to do things on our mill rate, but I guess it is what it is. I don't know if either of the two of you want to mention this as well, or you're okay with this then?
Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regarding the MD, I guess I'd call it a dispute with the MD. It's a methodology which has changed somewhat from last year. I don't agree with it, but like Councilor Strover said, it is what it is, so not much we can do about it. For information purposes, though, Mr. Orwell asked the question if, what's the increase in the school foundation tax from 2020 to 2021? It's considerable, is it not?
Yeah, it's considerable, and I think I did have that number for you. Between 2020 and 2021, it's about 127,000.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? Right, someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Garner.
I can make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that council gives first reading to bylaw 16-2021, being the property tax rate bylaw for the town of Tabor at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Councillor Stravas.
Yes, Your Worship, I'll make the next motion that council gives second reading to bylaw 16-2021, being the property tax rate bylaw of the town of Tabor at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Someone prepared to make the third motion? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll make the motion that council unanimously agrees to proceed with third and final reading to bylaw 16-2021, being the property tax rate bylaw of the town of Tabor at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. All right, Councillor Beckering, fourth required motion.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw number 16-2021, being the property tax rate bylaw for the town of Tabor at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. On to item 5.2, proposed supplementary tax rate bylaw 17-2021. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, His Worship. So thank you very much for passing the property tax rate bylaw, and automatically it follows to the next one, which is the proposed supplementary tax rate bylaw. So as you know, as per the MGA section 369, if any council passes a bylaw authorizing supplementary assessments to be prepared in respect to the property, the council must also in the same year pass a bylaw authorizing it to impose supplementary tax for anything out there during the year. So we're just applying the same rates that have passed for any supplementary assessments during the year. So administration is requesting council to pass the supplementary tax rate bylaw.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make the first motion? Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives first reading to bylaw 17-2021, being the supplementary tax rate bylaw for the town of Tabor as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. The second required motion, Councillor Strauss.
Yes, your worship, I'll make the motion that council give second reading to bylaw 17-2021, being the supplementary tax rate bylaw of the town of Tabor as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the third required motion, Councillor Garner.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council unanimously agrees to proceed to third and final reading of bylaw 17-2021, being the supplementary tax rate bylaw of the town of Tabor as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the fourth required motion, Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third and final reading to bylaw 17-2021, being the supplementary tax rate bylaw for the town of Tabor as presented.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And item 5.3, proposed nuisance and unsightly premises bylaw 13-2021. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, I would call Mr. Shea to share this with council. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Safe to proceed.
Thank you.
Mr. Shearer.
Thank you for clearing the way. Good afternoon, Your Worship,
Good afternoon.
members of council. So we've been working on the new nuisance and unsightly premises bylaw for quite a time, upgrading it. What we found in lots of other bylaws, the definitions were unclear, especially when it came to boulevards, frontages, side yards, things like that, and who's responsible for what. So we've basically upgraded it. I included some drawings so that we try to make it as crystal clear as possible. And our community standards officers were having trouble with residents. They know that's not on my property, that's the town's property. So we just went through there, upgraded it, did better definitions, and really just named who's responsible for each. So with that, I'm here to take your questions.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Mr. Scheer, so this is going to address unsightly backyards.
Yes.
Because
in
I've
there.
had some complaints from people in the town saying that their neighbors, it's not very nice to look at, and if they're wanting to sell their home, it really hurts the chances of getting a good dollar for it.
It addresses not only the yards, but in sheds that are unsightly or in need of repair, things like that.
Like disassembled RVs.
Yes. This has all gone through Tabor Police Service. They've gone through it twice, so they feel it's enforceable. So.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. Any other questions arising? All right, Councillor Bruin.
I'm prepared to make the first motion that council gives first reading to the nuisance and sightly premises bylaw 13-2021 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. Counselor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council give second reading to the nuisance and unsightly premises bylaw number 13-2021 at this meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously, thank you. And the third required motion, Counselor Garner?
Yes, yes, Mr. Mayor. That council gives unanimously agrees to proceed to third and final reading to the nuisance and unsightly premises bylaw 13-2021 at this meeting.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And the fourth required motion, Counselor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council gives third and final reading to the nuisance and unsightly premises bylaw 13-2021 at this meeting.
All right, thank you, Counselor. All right, no questions there. All right, motion on the table. Counselor Beckering?
This is a very comprehensive and difficult bylaw in my view, very extremely difficult. And I want to commend administration on their job well done.
All right, thank you. Once again, motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. On to action items. Item 6.1, destruction of municipal documents, administrative services. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, His Worship, I would call upon Ms. Vanham to address this with council. I think there are a few documents there that they would like to destroy. Proceed, Ms. Vanham, please.
Thank you, Mr. Orwa, and good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So Administrative Services has been going through our documents in our central filing, similar to what other departments are doing. And we've identified some documents that we would like Council's authority to destroy. The reasoning is behind it is sometimes there are duplication of files depending on how they are filed, either by nomenclature or sender or subject. So that's been identified, as well as some changes in the organizational structure with provincial and federal levels. And technology has brought an interesting aspect. We don't actually have to keep the acts themselves anymore. A lot of things like that are located online. So we are asking for council to approve the destruction of the documents listed. And I'm available if there are any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make that motion? Counselor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council approves the destruction of the documents identified in the attached list per the retention period in years identified in Schedule A of the bylaw number 10-99, retention of municipal documents.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.2, first quarter financial statements. Mr. Orwa.
Thank you very much again, His Worship and members of council. So we've gone through the first quarter financial statements, that is January 1st to March 31st. And this is something that has gone through the audit committee. And that is where we dissect our financial statements. And probably at this point, I would like to maybe call upon members of the audit committee if there's anything that they would like to share with council.
All right. Anything arising whatsoever? Councilor Strauss?
Yes, Your Worship, there's nothing really of too much concern in here as we went through this here quite extensively. Administration is doing a great job in keeping track of all the costs. And variances, you know, there are some variances in different things, but nothing to be concerned with at this point. So I'm ready to make a motion to recommend a motion that council accepts the unaudited financial statements for the 3 months ending March 31st, 2021 for information purposes.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. All right, on to department reports. All right, go through these individually. If you have any questions, please advise accordingly. First off is the CEO department report. Engineering and Public Works report. Treatment Facilities report. Fire Department report. Planning and Economic Development Report. Councillor Stravis?
Your worship, just want to highlight the building permits that is under planning and economic development, that the last year to date, the totals from the previous 2 years don't access to where we're at this point here, and things are moving along quite well. Our planning and economic development is moving along well. Lots of permits coming through, so we should have a very, very much a banner year this year.
All right, thank you. On to HR Department report. Recreation Department report. Councillor Firth?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just had a question. Where is Quality Living Park located? It says all shrubs at Quality Living Park have been removed in preparation for new plants, and I was just curious where that park is. I've never heard of it.
All right, Mr. Roa or Mr. Shear?
Corey on the line? Just get Corey for the second. Corey, there was a question that came through. Maybe Councillor Fath probably might repeat the same question for Corey, please.
Sure. Ms. Ostrup, I was curious where Quality Living Park is.
I'm gonna tag team with Phyllis, if that's okay.
Okay.
She's gonna help me out. Through his worship to Councillor Firth, I believe that is the Quality Living Development over just south of Prairie Lakes. There's that dry pond that is developed into a park north of 56. Does that make sense?
It does.
Do you know where I'm talking about?
Yes.
Thank you, Phyllis.
You're welcome. Thanks.
All right, thank you. That's got everything covered recreation-wise? Okay. On to Finance Department report and Administrative Service report. Someone prepared to make that motion for information purposes? Councillor Garner?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I can make that motion. The council accepts the department reports for information purposes.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And next we are on to Mayor and Councillor reports. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have attended all the meetings and boards that I am required to, mostly virtually, and there hasn't been a lot else happening.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Same with me. I attended all the meetings, most virtual, of course, and nothing news to report, actually. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Garner?
Yes, not too much to report. I attended all the meetings that I was required to virtually, and that's about it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Strawas?
Yes, your worship, just a couple things that I want to point out, that today the library has a new manager. Chris Vowles has been hired as the manager, local individual. That's going to take over the management responsibilities. And today's actually her first day. We're quite happy to have her on board. She's a good individual. That'll help keep that balanced out there. The other item is that being the delegate for the Alberta Japan Twin Municipalities Association, of course, we had a meeting there last week, and we're postponing our annual general meeting till this fall, maybe again in September, doing it virtually. Difficult to put that together, but we were supposed to be hosting the conference here in June of this year, and administration is agreed to postpone it to 2022 for next year. So hopefully that'll be a go next year, that we won't have all of this here COVID issues that we have now. So that's about all I've got to say at this point.
All right, thank you. Councillor Bruin?
Nothing new to report. I've attended all the meetings that I've been required to. Everything seems to be going well.
All right, thank you. And for myself, I was very happy to be taking part in one of our local veterans, Mr. FedEx, and his 101st birthday parade celebration, along with our fire department, police department, and the Legion reps, as well as the Gear Lords. took part in that parade. Also dealt with storytelling for Central School during the reading week, virtually, of course. And, also took part in a virtual update along with MD of Tabor Reeve Harris and Vauxhall Mayor Plumtree related to the COVID-19 updates. I was also the guest speaker in a virtual meeting for the Royal Canadian Air Cadets Squadron 225 Tabor Comet just in this last week. Also took place or dealt with a number of document and contract signing requirements, as well as a number of media interviews as well. So with that, that would be my report. Someone prepared to make a motion for information purposes. Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the council accepts the mayor and councillor reports for information.
Thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great. Thank you. On to item 6.5, standing item, council requests. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, His Worship. Again, this is an opportunity for council to provide any direction or maybe any question you might have or any clarification. But before we do that, I just want to direct you to the outstanding items that we have. I think we are getting very close. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. If you can go to the attachment to standing item 6.5. 6.5. Down. Yeah, that down. Yeah. So that's what we have. You can see the first two are still outstanding ones for Japan. And then the Koanis one that is still outstanding. And I believe the last one will be tackled tonight during our closed session. That is on the CEO review template. So based on those, I believe the last one is going to fall off, and we'll have only 3 left. So at this point, probably I'll just maybe give the council a chance to provide any direction or any clarification. And I think the team is out there to answer any questions that you may have.
All right. Thank you. Any questions arising related to the outstanding list and or any new items? Any council member may have. Councillor Garner.
Yeah, I have a new item. I'm just wondering if we could get administration to look into the application of maybe calcium once this summer on that Trout Pond Road to kind of control the dust.
Yeah, that was just completed about a week ago.
Okay, very good, thank you.
One other follow-up item, sorry.
Sure.
The Quality Living Playground is at 4700 63rd Avenue.
Oh, that's the quality.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Any other new items? Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is more of a comment as opposed to giving any direction. I've had considerable interaction and phone calls from citizens regarding the new stop sign, 4-way stop sign at A&W corner. That's the best I can explain it. I've kept track of my interactions, kept track of the phone calls, and 90% of the people that interacted with me or phoned me said, "What are you guys doing there?" Now, I know the traffic committee passed a motion to that effect, I believe, to install 4-way stop signs. I'd like to have further clarification, please, for the reasoning.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Garner, you want to chime in on that also?
I'm probably not the right person to talk to because I have concerns about it myself, but
That decision was made based off Tabor Police Services reports. They've had numerous close calls, collisions in the area, and that's a high traffic area. So based off of that, they brought it forward. They would like 4-way stop signs. So with that, we proceeded.
Thank you. Councillor Bruin.
The concerns I've had brought to me about that is large trucks when they turn and they have to stop the 4-way stop signs. Vehicles may be stuck on the railroad tracks. That's what some people have mentioned, and it'll take a while to get used to. I'm kind of surprised we put it there, but.
So we did measure that from the railroad tracks to the stop sign. Plenty of room for a semi-trailer. We did ensure that was one of our concerns too. If they turn right, that actually is not a truck route anymore. So they shouldn't be going down that area.
Okay.
Only if they have deliveries in the downtown area.
Thank you.
Councillor Strabas.
Yes, Your Worship. I too have had many concerns of people upset about that stop sign there. You know, and when I think back in past years, I remember when these issues came up, they had to come back to council for approval. Maybe they were just being kind to us back then, so we would have a chance to debate it, because, you know, there was on the corner of 52nd and 56th, there was quite a bit of a debate over that, the school crossings and whatnot. But I just wonder if maybe this is something that council should revisit the, forget the terminology I wanted to use, but the authority of the traffic committee to go ahead and do this without having council's input in this, because we're the ones who get all the flack on this, and there has been considerable comments on this that I have received, all negative, none positive.
Well, I can clarify for yourself, Councilor Chavez, I've noticed a number of incidents, near misses as well, and through speaking with Inspector Kaler also had a variety of incidents he was made aware of, and also agreed that that was a problematic location. And as has happened in the past with any traffic committee discussion, it is discussed at that level, and or decisions made for any potential changes, and then the information brought back for consideration, or courtesy wise, I should say, for council at a later date. And that's been the practice for the last several years that I'm aware of, so that hasn't changed. And that's the basic reason, as was confirmed by the police service representation, as well as there's two of us on council representatives with that as well. And that's the decision that was made in the end. Any other questions? Councilor Bruin?
So if I understand correctly, the traffic committee can make a decision and it is enacted without council's authority?
That is correct, yes.
I would like to see that revisited as well.
And under any of the traffic bylaw, CAO has authority to make any traffic decision, and put up any signs, things like that. Don't forget, council is the ultimate the decision maker. So if you want it to come back to council, all you have to do is pass a motion, and we'll bring an RFD back.
If I may continue.
Sure, Councilor Bruin.
I think something like this, it should be brought to council's attention before it's put in place, just because of the concerns council has received over this.
That's interesting. I guess different circles we're traveling, but I haven't had one concern about it myself. But again, it's interesting to hear some of the different comments and concerns there, but it definitely has been a problematic intersection for some time, as was confirmed by the police services. Mr. Scheer also indicated. Any other questions or comments? Councilor Chavez?
Well, your worship, we can't put a stop sign at every problem intersection in this community, because people will be going nowhere in a real hurry.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments? All right. Any other standing item requests? All right. We need a motion to move into closed session then. We have our delegates coming up at 5 p.m., but I'll just take a quick 10 minutes and we'll move into closed session. I think you're okay with just moving into closed session as is? Okay, all right. All right, just need a motion to move into closed session, please. Councilor Bruin?
I make motion to move into closed session.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. Promise? We're good? All right, we're live again. Perfect, thank you. We reconvene the meeting and move on to our first delegation, which is item 7.1, request for funding, Clearview Lodge Resident Advisory Council. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, there's a request for funding here from Clearview Lodge, and I believe Ms. Brenda is on the line. Are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please proceed and address this with council.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if any of you have read the letter that I sent, but we've been doing some work in the outdoor atrium. It's in the middle of Clearview area. And we're just looking for funding to help pay for it. The residents have asked us to redo it to make it safer for them. They like to go out and look after their flowers in the garden that they plant every spring. And so as a council, they decided to go ahead with this. It is just about completed to date, but we are still looking for funding for it. The reason we went ahead is because we wanted the seniors to be able to spend time out there this summer. Because of the restrictions from COVID and everything, they are kind of stuck inside. And with them being able to go out in the middle atrium there, they get their fresh air, they can do different activities out there. We've done quite a bit to it. We had to take the rocks and the gravel and all the unsafe obstacles that were there. So we pretty much cleaned out the whole area and redid it. And it is really looking really, really nice. The residents are just really excited about being able to go out there and do some different activities out there. And we're just looking for some funding to help complete the project.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may ask, how much are you short?
We're about 5,000, 6,000 short. We still haven't got any of the or most of the lawn furniture and things like that. We have the whole cost of it is, if we include all the lawn furniture, is about $49,000. Just what we've done so far now is 41,000 or 40,953. And we have collected 19,000. We are committed for 22,500. It just hasn't been collected yet. So we have got 41,000 around there collected or committed to. We've applied for a grant of 5,500. We're not sure if we will get it. We won't know until late June on that.
All right, thank you, Councilor Bruin.
May I direct through the mayor to Mr. Orwell? How much do we have in our council fund?
I think council discretionary fund, we have about 22,000 now.
I
All
would
right,
like.
thank you. Councilor Stravas.
Yes, to Ms. Engelson, I have a couple of questions. Who's your contractor that's doing this work for you?
We had Pinnacle Landscaping do it.
Okay. And like your letter says here, you've kind of proceeded ahead. You put the cart before the horse, but I commend you on getting things done ahead of time, which is, it's great for the residents there. My next question is, how is this going to impact in the proposed renovation down the road? Because I believe they had that part of their plan was to redo that area. So is this kind of superseding that, or are they gonna have to redo it again a couple years down the road? Can you clarify that for us?
Well, as far as I understood, Joan, had talked to the contractor or the architect to get a price on doing that middle atrium when they were doing the renovations. And that's where that come in. And we just decided, and they don't know how long it's going to be before they ever get the renovations done on that. It could be 3 years to 5 years. And they said that with the renovations, I was under the understanding, and so was the rest of the council, that that would not be bothered at once they start the renovations. That should stay the same. And that's the way Joan had explained it to me too. So that's why we went ahead with it. Um, like I said, with the lockdown and the restrictions, I just felt, and the council felt, that we needed to do something for the seniors so they can get out in a safe area where they can get some fresh air and enjoy the activities that they can do out there, because they have made it more accessible, safer for them. And so they can bring their chairs or their walkers or their wheelchairs out there and use that area
All right, thank you,
better.
Councillor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to elaborate on what Ms. Engelson just explained. As I said on the TDHF committee, that they weren't planning to do anything to this courtyard. There was some pictures of a courtyard in the presentation that we saw, and that is a new courtyard that would be part of the expansion. So that might be what you're thinking of, Councillor Stravis.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
I am under the inclination to make a motion that council authorizes a contribution to the Clearview Lodge Resident Advisory Council Courtyard Project in the amount of $9,000 to be taken from the council discretionary fund.
All right, thank you, Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. Engelson.
Thank you.
It seems to me that if we cannot help our seniors, who are we gonna help? I think that's a comment I make.
Exactly.
That's a comment I make, and regarding the motion that Councilor Bruin made, I'd like to request a friendly amendment to reduce the 9,000 to 5,000. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
I don't accept that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just to clarify, Ms. Ingleson, would $9,000 get you to that level to cover the costs?
Oh, definitely. It would sure help. Like I say, we are looking for furniture and some sort of shading, either awnings or umbrellas. And yes, it would definitely help us.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I chose the number of 9,000, hoping that you'd get that $5,400 grant that you spoke of. So if the 9,000
Yes.
will get you just about done, and hopefully you get the 5,400. And if not, I think you should maybe approach council if you need more.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor Strauss.
Councillor Bruin, I just remind you that you're taking a pretty big chunk out of our council discretionary fund that if we deplete that, we'll have no recourse to help people down the road, or if they come back later in the year, there may not be enough money there to get in, because that budget there is limited. So we need to be careful just how much and how quickly spend. Although I fully understand that this is a very worthwhile project and something that need to be done, but we need to be careful how much money we spend out of that council discretionary fund. Perhaps there's another fund that we could find rather than that one.
All right, thank you, Councillor Bruin.
My understanding is we have 5 months left for this council. And I think this would be a good thing to do. And I think we should do it. If we need more money, we can always get it through another source as well, like you say. But I stand by my motion.
All right, thank you. Always great to support the seniors. We do have a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Great, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Ingleson.
Thank you very much.
Thank
I'll
you.
appreciate it very much. I'll let them know.
Great, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. All right,
Okay, bye.
bye now.
Bye.
All right, I see our next delegation just arriving, so thank you so much for attending. And we're on to item 7.2, senior rodeo request. Mr. Orwa.
Yes, His Worship, there is another request here, and I would call upon Ms. Ostrap to introduce the guests before they present.
Good evening. I have Mrs. and Mr. Turcado here to present for the senior rodeo here. They have come to the record at the beginning of May, and that was passed to come to you guys.
All right, thank you. If you'd like to both come forward, please do so. Hello, hello.
How's everybody doing?
Not too bad, thanks. And yourselves?
Good. After the big rain, everybody's got a smile on their face.
We need it, absolutely, you bet.
Me and Glennis are representing the Southwest Senior Pro Rodeo Association, and in conjunction with the Tabor Exhibition Association, we are going to put on a senior rodeo July 10th and 11th. I guess as for some history on the Senior Pro Rodeo Association, we're an rodeo association that is the only requirements we have is you have to be a 40 to 82. I think that's what the age group of people we have. So we have I think 20 rodeos throughout the summer, and this would be a couple of them on our circuit. And I think the unique thing about our association is that when the people come to town, they come for the whole weekend. They'll come for 3 days. And so there'll be about 75 to 80 units roll into the Exhibition Association, stay for 3 days, and patronize the town, see what it's all about. And then we rodeo for 2 days, and then they either move on to the next rodeo or they head home. As far as funding, we are fundraising. We're doing a raffle. It takes us probably a little under $10,000 to put this rodeo on this year, with $5,000 for the stock, probably another $2,500 to $3,000 for labor, judges, and things like that. And then the rest is pretty much prize money, which is very minimal. I think we have close to 17 events. What it is everybody ropes in their age category, or competes in their age category, which means 40 to 50, 50 to 60, and 60 and over. So everybody kind of finds their spot where they can be competitive, and it keeps everybody competitive and gives everybody a fair shot at
60
competing.
and over. Not me.
But we thought, seeing as it's in town, and it's hopefully we're going to do this every year. This is the first year we'll want to book it for every year, for sometime in July, which hopefully we can keep the same date. And I think it'll be good for the town. I think it'll be good for our community. It'll be good for people to come see Tabor, and I think it's going to be quite an opportunity. Hopefully in years to come we can make it a little bit bigger, but for now we're not going to take admission. We feel that we're going to let people come see what we're about and go from there, and hopefully in years to come we can take admission and hopefully grow our pot and build our rodeo over time. Is there anything you want to add, Glennis?
Our committee is really proactive. Like, we're trying to think of new events that we can bring in with our rodeo. Like if we did a bull riding competition or something like that, like in the future. But we have committed with the TEA to do it again next year for sure. So they're helping us out a lot by being on our committee.
Okay, great. Well, I commend you for organizing this event, and it's, like I said, it's always great to have some new people coming to town, and glad to see ages of all varieties coming in and being able to compete at that level. 80 plus, I mean, doesn't get much better than that, right? So.
Well, I'll be honest, the first time he made me go to one, I walked in and I said, somebody's gonna die here. Like, this is crazy. And you're seeing these ladies with ladders getting onto their horses, and now I am.
Competitive spirit never dies, right? So.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Councilor Beckering.
Loads of fun.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mrs. Takado, Lynn and Glennis.
Thank you.
These people are very persistent. This is the 4th meeting I've been to that they've made their spiel. And it's never changed, so they must be telling the truth.
We're excited. We're excited.
I think that because of the fact this is not a one-off, it's a dedicated effort to continue this into the next years to come, that I'm really in support of this. And I noticed that the MD of Tabor contributed $2,000, is that correct?
That's right, yeah,
Yeah, which is appreciated, of course. And
very, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I support this. They came to the rec board, it was unanimous to support to council for discussion, not how much we should give, but for discussion at least, and that's what we're doing, so, thank you.
Absolutely great. Thank you. Councillor Bruin.
I just want to dwell in the moment a little bit of you guys before
Oh
me
boy,
asking
here
for
we
a
go.
seniors rodeo. No, hats off to you for this. This is exciting. I think it's a great project. My only question, I guess, would be, what about the COVID restrictions and how will you deal with that?
Okay, so the association, the Canadian Senior Pro, has put in 4 exemptions for the whole season. And they are working with other associations like Chinook and FCA and Wild Rose. They're all working with AHS on exemptions for the rodeos. And so there's a zero tolerance policy with the rodeos that if you don't comply, you just don't enter. If you're not willing to wear your mask, don't come, you know, so
And that will be enforced?
it will.
Because
It'll-
that's
yeah.
kind of put bad taste in people's mouths about these rodeos that have been held
Yeah.
illegally.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
And I think.
you guys may be setting a good example if you do it this way and show it. You can still do it and
Yeah.
be safe.
And we're hoping that by July it'll open a little bit. Right now, what the concessions are is only 5 people inside the building at a time, but they have to have masks and they have to do social distancing. We have one event that they are looking at because it's ribbon running, and so the guy ropes the calf and then he has to get off his horse, touch the calf, and then the girl can't swoop in until he touches the calf, so you're actually not 6 meters apart, but most of us are married. And some aren't, and so we're gonna set that as a rule that they have to sleep with their partners. So,
That could cause you problems.
yeah, so anyways, that's the only one that we're wondering about our exemption, but
No.
by July 10th, we don't know what the exemptions will look like.
Oh, that's
They could be a
excellent.
lot
I'd
looser.
support helping you out with minimum of what the MD is doing. So.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Chavas.
Yes, Your Worship, to our delegation, when I was more financially viable in some of my future businesses, I used to support the Chinook Rodeo Association for a number of years, and they're right, a lot of people did come to town and they ate in the restaurants, they bought gas and liquor and you know, lots of things, you know, so I commend you on that, and I'm ready to proceed with the motion that council directs administration to fund the request in the amount of $5,000 from the council discretionary fund.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Garner.
Nope, he beat me to the punch.
Okay, perfect. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried now. Great. Thank you. Congratulations and good luck with your event.
It's awesome.
Thank you very
And we
much.
hope you guys
Thank
come
you.
and have coffee.
Absolutely. We'll do that.
Viagra? I'll give you Viagra. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. All right, with that, just a motion to move back into closed session, please. Motion on the table. All in favor?